Jalen Armitage had climbed from nothing to build a successful consulting firm, but he never forgot where he came from. Those lean years still lived in his bones. That was why, as he sat with his 7-year-old daughter Ava at the Copper Elm, he noticed them immediately. A young black woman in a faded blue dress and a small brown-skinned girl with tangled curls standing at the hostess stand. The woman studied the menu with an expression he recognized all too well. Someone calculating every dollar, weighing survival against dignity. Then the little girl's eyes found Ava's plate, loaded with golden chicken tenders and fries. Her small hands gripped the table's edge, and the hunger in that gaze was so raw, it made Jalen's chest tighten. "Daddy, why is that little girl looking at my food?" Ava whispered. "Maybe she's just curious, sweetheart." But he knew better. He had worn that same expression once, standing outside a bakery with baby Ava, counting coins that would not be enough. Across the restaurant, the woman named Norah spoke to the waiter in a soft voice, pointing to the cheapest item on the menu. When he returned, Norah opened her purse, hands shaking as she counted bills and change. The waiter leaned down. Nora's shoulders hunched. She stood abruptly, took Clara's hand, and began walking toward the door. But Clara turned back once, her eyes finding Ava's plate again. Something inside Jalen broke open. "Stay here, honey." He moved quickly through the restaurant, reaching the entrance just as Norah pushed open the door. "Excuse me, wait, please." Norah froze. When she looked back, her dark brown eyes were guarded, cold. "I thought maybe you and your daughter might like to join us for lunch. We have plenty." "No." Sharp and final. "We're fine." I didn't mean to offend. I said no. We don't need your charity. Something like pain flashed in Norah's eyes. Then she turned away, pulling Clara with her, and walked out. Jalen stood there feeling helpless. When they left an hour later, Ava tugged his hand. "They were really hungry, Daddy." Jalen knelt to her level. "You're right. Sometimes people who are struggling need help, but sometimes they're scared to accept it. Why? Because sometimes people who offer help want something back that can hurt. It makes them not trust anyone. Then how can you help them?" He thought about the restaurant owner named Mr. Hollis, an older black man who had given Jalen a dishwashing job while he carried baby Ava. Mr. Hollis had not offered charity. He had offered respect, treating Jalen like a man capable of building his own future. That distinction made all the difference. Maybe that was the answer, not a handout, but opportunity. It was Thursday, nearly a week later, that he saw them again at Maple Row Park. Clara was on the swings, her curls flying. Norah sat on a bench, eyes never leaving her daughter. When Clara ran to her mother, breathless and smiling, Norah's face transformed into pure love. Jalen sat on a distant bench, giving space. Norah noticed him immediately, her back stiffening. He did not look up, simply sat there, giving her time to decide if he was a threat. Over 2 weeks, it happened again and again. Slowly, the space between benches closed. Then, on a warm October afternoon, she sat on the other end of his bench. Neither spoke. Clara played. Jalen read. Norah sketched. Clara finally broke it. "Mama, is that the man from the restaurant?" "Yes, but we don't bother people." "I'm not bothering." Clara turned to Jalen. "Do you come here a lot?" "I do. My daughter goes to school across the street." "Your daughter with the chicken tenders?" "I'm Clara." "Her name is Ava. She loves swings, too." "Clara, come here," Norah said firmly. She put an arm around her daughter, then looked at Jalen directly. "I appreciate that you've been respectful, not pushing. But I need you to understand something. I can't accept help from people. I've made that mistake before, and it cost me everything. Jalen set his book down, waiting. Nora looked at Clara, smoothing her daughter's curls. Then she began to speak, her voice low and careful. 2 years ago, Clara's father left. Just walked out one morning and never came back. I had been staying home with Clara, so I had no recent work experience. I applied everywhere, but nobody wanted to hire a black woman who had been out of the workforce that long. We were going to lose our apartment. I was desperate. She paused. Then I met a man, Colt Renard. He owned several businesses, seemed successful and kind. He offered me a job. Good pay, flexible hours. It seemed like a miracle. She laughed bitterly. At first, everything was fine. But then he started asking for things. Small things at first. Work late. Have dinner with a client. Every request came with a reminder of how much he had done for me. How grateful I should be. Her voice went flat. When I started saying no, he changed. He said I owed him, and if I wanted to keep my job, I needed to show my appreciation. Clara's small hand found her mother's. I quit, walked out that same day. But Colt spread rumors, made sure nobody in his network would hire me. We lost the apartment anyway. Spent 4 months in a shelter before I found work at a laundromat, under the table. The pay is terrible, but at least I don't owe anyone anything. She looked up at Jalen, eyes bright with tears. So when you offered help, when you kept showing up, I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because that's how it works. Nobody helps for free. There's always a price. I'm sorry that happened to you. I understand why you wouldn't want to take that risk again. He paused. I'm not going to tell you I'm different. Words are cheap. Colt probably said all the right things too. But I want you to know something about me. 10 years ago, I was where you are. Single father, no job, sleeping in my car with my baby daughter because I could not afford rent. I was terrified every single day. Nora's eyes widened, reassessing this well-dressed man. A restaurant owner named Mr. Hollis gave me a dishwashing job. He paid fair wages, treated me with respect, never made me feel I owed him more than honest work. When I started my own business years later, he was my first investor. He didn't want repayment. He just said, when you're in a position to help someone else, do it. That's how you pay me back. Jalen leaned forward. I'm not Mr. Hollis, but I've learned that real help doesn't come with strings. It's not a transaction. It's just one human recognizing another's struggle and having the means to make it easier. Nora was quiet. How do I know you're not just better at the game than Colt? You don't. Trust has to be built over time through actions, not words. So I'm not asking you to trust me now. I'm just asking you to consider the possibility that there might be another way. Another way to what? To move forward. To build something better for Clara. I own a consulting firm. I need someone for administrative work. It's a real job with real responsibilities and fair wages. I'm offering you an interview, not charity. You'd have to earn the position. But if you are, then it's just employment. A contract, a paycheck, nothing more. Nora's hands trembled. Why? Why would you do this? Because Mr. Hollis did it for me. Because I remember what it feels like to be one bad day away from losing everything. Because Clara deserves more, and you deserve to not have to struggle alone. He paused. And because I believe in paying it forward. For the first time, Nora's walls cracked slightly, hope fighting caution. I need to think about it. Of course. Jalen pulled out a business card. My office number and email. If you decide you want to interview, just call. If not, that's okay too. 3 days passed with no call. On the 4th day, his office phone rang. "Mr. Armitage, this is Nora Keene. We met at the park. I'd like to schedule an interview if the position is still available." "It is. When would work for you?" Monday came. Norah showed up 15 minutes early, wearing a carefully pressed dress, her resume printed on slightly yellowed paper. Jalen conducted the interview professionally. At the end, he offered her the job, not from pity, but because she was genuinely qualified. There's a 3-month probationary period, standard for all new hires. Everything is in the contract. I'd encourage you to take it home, read it carefully. Norah scanned it with sharp eyes. This is very fair. It's meant to be. I pay employees what they're worth and treat them with respect. In return, I expect quality work and honesty. That's the extent of it. She looked at him for a long moment, searching for deception. "I'll start Monday. And thank you. Not for charity, but for the opportunity." "You're welcome. And Norah, this isn't charity. You're going to earn every dollar." For the first time, she smiled. "Good. I wouldn't respect you if you weren't." Norah started the following week. True to his word, Jalen treated her like any other employee. Professional, occasionally demanding, always fair. When she made mistakes, he corrected matter-of-factly. When she did excellent work, which was most of the time, he acknowledged it professionally. Slowly, Norah began to relax. Her shoulders gradually lost their defensive tension. She began speaking up with ideas. She started trusting that when he said something, he meant it. The real test came 6 weeks in, on a cold November evening. His phone rang, and Norah's number appeared. "Mr. Armitage, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I don't know what else to do." Her words came in a rush. "Clara is sick, really sick, high fever, trouble breathing. I need to take her to the emergency room, but I don't have anyone to watch her tomorrow for work. And I know I just started and shouldn't ask for time off, but I—" "Norah." Jalen interrupted gently. "Stop. Take Clara to the emergency room right now. Don't worry about work. Don't worry about anything except getting her the care she needs." "But the probation period?" "I don't care what the contract says. Your daughter is sick. Family comes first, always. We will figure out the work part later. Just go." There was silence. Then he heard her breath hitch, relief and gratitude and fear tangled together. "Okay, thank you." "Norah, which hospital?" "Haven Ridge Medical Center." "I'll be there as soon as I can." "No, you don't need. I'm coming. Not as your boss, just as someone who cares. You shouldn't have to do this alone." When he arrived, he found Norah in the waiting room, holding Clara on her lap. The little girl's face was flushed with fever, her breathing labored. Norah was stroking her hair, but her own face was pale with fear. "How is she?" Norah looked up, surprise replaced by relief. "They think pneumonia. They want to admit her, run tests, start antibiotics." Her voice cracked. "I don't have insurance. I don't know how I'm going to pay for this." Jalen sat beside her. "Let me worry about that." "No, I can't let you do that." "Norah, look at me." He waited until her frightened eyes met his. "This is not a favor. This is not going to put you in my debt. I'm going to pay the hospital bill directly, and you're never going to owe me anything for it. Not gratitude, not loyalty, nothing. Do you understand?" "Why would you do that?" Tears streamed down her face. "Why would anyone do that?" "Because Clara is a little girl who needs medical care, and her mother is working hard to build a better life. Because I can afford it, and you can't. Because Mr. Hollis once paid my rent for 3 months when Ava was sick, and he wouldn't let me pay him back either. He said the same thing I'm saying now. This is not a transaction. This is just basic human decency. Nora shook her head. I don't know how to accept this. Then don't accept it for yourself. Accept it for Clara, because she shouldn't suffer because her mother is too afraid of being hurt again. Jalen softened his voice. Nora, I know Colt taught you that kindness is just manipulation. But that's not true. There are good people who help because it's the right thing to do. Mr. Hollis was one. I'm trying to be one. And someday when you're in a position to help someone else, you can be one too. Clara stirred, coughing weakly. A nurse called them back. Nora stood and looked at Jalen with eyes full of tears and uncertainty and the first fragile shoots of something that might become trust. Okay. For Clara. Jalen stayed in the hallway where Nora could see him through the window. He made calls to hospital administration, arranged for bills to be sent to his office, signed forms that made him financially responsible. Clara was admitted with pneumonia. The doctor started IV antibiotics and oxygen, and her breathing began to ease. Nora sat by her bedside all night. Jalen brought coffee and sandwiches, sat with her during quiet hours when there was nothing to do but wait and worry. They did not talk much. But in the silence, in the simple act of showing up and staying, something shifted. Nora began to understand what Jalen had been trying to tell her, that not all help came with hidden costs. As dawn light filtered through hospital windows, Clara's fever finally broke. She opened her eyes and smiled. Hi, Mama. Nora burst into tears. Hi, baby. You scared me. I'm sorry. Is that man here? The one with the daughter who likes swings? Yes, he's here. That's nice of him. Clara's eyes drifted closed. He seems like a good person, Mama. Nora looked at Jalen standing near the door. When she smiled at him, it was genuine and warm and free from defensive walls. Thank you. Not just for the bill. For showing up. For staying. For proving that maybe I was wrong about everyone. Jalen smiled back. You weren't wrong to protect yourself. Colt earned your distrust. I'm just grateful you were willing to give me a chance to earn something different. Clara recovered quickly. After 3 days, she was discharged. Nora returned to work the following week, and if Jalen noticed she seemed lighter, more open, he did not comment. He simply continued treating her with the same professional respect. But things had changed. Nora began to smile more, to joke with colleagues, to bring in homemade cookies. She started joining the team for occasional lunches. When Jalen offered to adjust her schedule for Clara's school events, she accepted with gratitude instead of suspicion. The 3-month probation ended. Jalen made her position permanent without hesitation. 6 months into her employment, Nora knocked on Jalen's office door. Do you have a minute? I wanted to talk about something personal. Of course. Nora sat, hands folded. I've been thinking a lot about what you said in the hospital. About Mr. Hollis and about paying it forward. I've been saving money, and I'm finally in a position where I have a little extra. I want to use it to help someone the way you helped me. Jalen felt warmth spread through his chest. That's wonderful. What did you have in mind? There's a woman at Clara's school, another single mother, struggling just like I was. I want to help her. But I don't want to make Colt's mistakes. I don't want her to feel like she owes me. So I'm asking you, how do I help someone without hurting them? Jalen leaned back. You start by offering something concrete and finite. Not open-ended charity, but a specific thing with clear boundaries. Maybe you buy her daughter new shoes anonymously. Maybe you invite them to dinner without making it feel like rescue. Maybe you let her know you've been where she is, and if she needs someone to talk to, you're there. And if she refuses, you respect that. You can't force help on someone not ready. But you can plant seeds. Eventually, if she needs you, she'll know you're there. Nora nodded slowly. It's harder than I thought, helping someone well. Yes, but you know what not to do because you've experienced it. That knowledge makes you better equipped than most. You understand the importance of dignity, boundaries, respect. She smiled, and Jalen saw the transformation in her face. The haunted look was gone, replaced by quiet confidence. I learned that from you, from the way you treated me. Even when I didn't trust you, you never made me feel small. You always had that strength. I just provided opportunity to use it. She stood, then paused. Clara wants to know if Ava would like to come over for a play date. We have our own apartment now, a real one with 2 bedrooms. Clara has been dying to show it off. Jalen felt his throat tighten. Ava would love that. She's been asking about Clara since that day at the park. Good, because Clara has been asking about her too. Turns out our daughters have excellent taste in friends. Nora's smile was bright and genuine, just like we do. 2 weeks later, Jalen and Ava arrived at Nora's apartment. It was modest but welcoming, with fresh flowers on the table, crayon drawings on the refrigerator, matching curtains that coordinated in warm earth tones. It's not much, Nora said, but it's ours, actually ours. I signed a real lease, passed the credit check, everything legal. It's wonderful, Nora. You should be proud. I am. She paused. I've been wanting to talk to you about the hospital bill. I know you said I don't owe you anything, and I understand you meant it. But I've been thinking about what Clara said that night. About you being a good person. She was right. But not just because you paid the bill. You gave me respect and opportunity and space to heal. She pulled out an envelope. This is not payment for the hospital bill. But this is something else. It's a donation to the community center where you volunteer. The one that offers free meals. I've been volunteering there on weekends, and I wanted to contribute financially too. I'm doing it in your name and Mr. Hollis's name because that feels right. Jalen opened the envelope. A check for $500. For someone in Nora's position, that was significant money, carefully saved and thoughtfully given. Nora, this is incredibly generous. It's paying it forward like you taught me, like Mr. Hollis taught you. I can't repay you directly, but I can help others. And I can teach Clara that when we're fortunate enough to have extra, we share it. Not because they owe us, but because it's the right thing to do. Jalen stood and pulled Nora into a hug. She stiffened for just a second, then relaxed, her shoulders shaking with quiet tears. You've come so far. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. Maybe it would have taken longer, but you would have made it because you're strong and devoted to your daughter. I just helped speed up the timeline. From the bedroom, the girls' laughter rang out. They pulled apart, both wiping their eyes and laughing. They're going to be good friends, Nora said. I think so too. And so are we. Yes, friends. I like that. The play date stretched into dinner, with Nora making spaghetti and Jalen helping in the kitchen while the girls set the table. It was simple and comfortable and normal. The kind of everyday moment Nora had feared she would never have again. As they sat around the table, Clara and Ava chattering about school, Jalen caught Nora's eye. She mouthed, "Thank you." He shook his head and mouthed back, "Thank yourself." Because that was the truth. Jalen had opened a door, but Nora had walked through it. She had chosen to trust again despite every reason not to. She had worked hard and accepted help with grace and turned her pain into wisdom. As evening wound down, Clara ran up and hugged Ava goodbye. Then, shyly, she approached Jalen. "Mr. Armitage, can I ask you something?" "Of course, Clara." "My mama smiles a lot now. She didn't used to. Did you do something to make her happy?" Jalen knelt to Clara's level. "Your mama made herself happy by being brave and strong, but I'm glad I got to be a small part of her journey." Clara considered this seriously, then nodded. "I think you're a good friend to my mama, and to me." "I think you're a good friend too, Clara, to Ava and to me." She beamed, then ran back to her mother. Norah stood in the doorway, arm around Clara, watching them walk to the car. The evening air was warm and sweet, carrying the scent of spring flowers and new beginnings. As Jalen drove home, Ava chattered about her new friend. But Jalen's mind was on Norah, on the journey they had both taken from that first encounter to this moment of genuine friendship. But it had happened. And in happening, it had changed them both. Norah had learned to trust again, to accept that kindness existed without cost. Jalen had learned the profound responsibility of offering help, the careful balance required to support without controlling. And both had learned what Mr. Hollis understood all along, that the greatest gift one person can give another is recognition of their inherent dignity and worth. The legacy continued. Norah was already helping others, teaching Clara through example that strength comes not from never needing help, but from accepting it with grace and paying it forward. The ripple effect of one man's kindness decades ago was still spreading, touching lives, changing stories, proving that even in a world that could be cruel, there were people who chose compassion. As he tucked Ava into bed that night, she looked up with sleepy eyes. "Daddy, I'm glad you helped Clara and her mama." "Me too, sweetheart. Mr. Hollis would be proud of you." Jalen felt his throat tighten. "I hope so, Ava. I know so because you did what he taught you. You helped them find their own strength. That's the best kind of help." She drifted off, her words echoing in his heart. Later, sitting in his office, he pulled out a photo from his desk drawer. It showed a younger version of himself, gaunt and exhausted, standing next to Mr. Hollis outside the restaurant. The older black man's hand was on his shoulder, his smile warm and proud. "I did it, Mr. Hollis," Jalen whispered. "I found someone who needed a door opened, and I tried to do it the way you taught me, with respect and patience and no strings attached. Norah is going to be okay now, more than okay, and maybe someday she'll open a door for someone else, and they'll open another. And your kindness will keep spreading." The photo did not answer. But Jalen felt peace settle over him. Mr. Hollis had given him more than a job or money. He had given him a model for how to be human in the best sense, how to see suffering and respond with compassion instead of judgment, how to help without diminishing, how to give without expecting return. That was the real inheritance, and it was worth more than any fortune. He turned off the light and went to check on Ava. She slept peacefully, her brown face relaxed and content. This beautiful daughter, who he had once feared he could not provide for, who he had held in the darkness of a car and promised to give a better life. He had kept that promise, but not alone. Mr. Hollis had helped, and now Jalen had helped Norah, and Norah would help someone else. That was how it worked. That was how broken people became whole, how struggles became strengths, how one small act of kindness could change the trajectory of a life. Not through grand gestures or heroic rescues, but through simple, consistent, respectful humanity, through seeing someone in their darkness and sitting with them until they found their own light. Jalen thought about Clara, probably asleep now in the apartment Nora had worked so hard to secure. 2 little black girls who might never have become friends. 2 families who might never have connected. All because of a moment of attention when he noticed a small girl staring at a plate of chicken tenders. It had been such a small thing, that moment of noticing. But from small moments, great things could grow. That was the magic of compassion. It multiplied. It compounded. It created more of itself wherever it went. He kissed Ava's forehead and walked to his room, ready for sleep, grateful for the day, hopeful for all the days to come. Tomorrow, he would go to work, and Norah would be there with her quiet competence and growing confidence. They would work together, solve problems together, build something valuable together. As colleagues, as friends, as 2 people who had both known darkness and chosen to create light. And somewhere in the world, Mr. Hollis's legacy lived on. In Jalen's kindness, in Nora's healing, in Clara and Ava's friendship, in every person they would each touch in turn. One man's decision to help a struggling father had created a chain reaction of compassion that would echo through generations. That was the true measure of a life well lived. Not in what you accumulated, but in what you gave. Not in what you kept, but in what you passed on. Jalen lay down, closed his eyes, and smiled. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges and opportunities. But tonight he rested in the knowledge that he had done what Mr. Hollis had asked. He had paid it forward. He had helped someone find their strength. And in doing so, he had honored the man who had once helped him find his own. The circle was complete, and the ripple continued to spread.